Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. And of course, good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world we reach via the internet and otherwise. And of course, good morning to every nook and cranny receiving our signals, our 100,000 watt transmitters signal, whether that be Northeast Texas, Southeast Texas, Northwest Louisiana, Southwest Louisiana. Welcome aboard. We have a great show for you today, as usual. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo están todos mis amigos? Espero que todos están bien. I hope everybody is doing fine. Let's go ahead and visit Los Genios del Estudio, the geniuses in the studio. How are my peeps doing?
Those heinous geniuses lurking around
Hey,
every
you
corner.
change a Spanish word, dude. You change a Spanish word. Genius is genius, and you used it in an English fashion. Hey, dude, that was a good one. Anyway, what's up?
Yeah, oh well, we had a great time yesterday at Under the Volcano with R&R show. Had
Uh
a lot
huh.
of folks turn out. A lot of folks came by, said, "Hey, you should do more of these." Well, we actually are going to do more of these. We've got one with Susan Darrow coming up on Friday. We're going to be doing border radio from the Mucky Duck. Three
All
until six will be
right.
live location, so it should be fun. We're gonna have a good time. No rants from me today, but I think Jack has a whole page of wisdom for us. Looks like he's been
Be-
writing away. So, what you got,
Great.
man?
Wait. Before the wisdom, let me ask you about the mucky duck. Because the mucky
Yeah,
duck has like several rooms, right? Are you going to take a room, or are you going to go in the main lane or
the
lobby?
main room. They'll be in the
Okay.
main
Okay.
room.
Okay.
There
Cool.
is a
Cool.
couple of long tables set up, kind of a divider between them. So we'll
Uh
be
huh.
taking that right as you walk in the front door, you'll see us.
All
So
right.
Susan
All right.
Darrow is going to be out there. Our big star of the afternoons will be out there on tomorrow, as a matter of fact, from 3 until 6. Border Radio on the road,
All
and
right.
then
I
I
love the
got another
sound
one
of that.
coming up at got another one with Clint Broussard coming up on Wednesday morning of next week. So we're getting this stuff out in the public, and the community radio is coming to the community. You can come by and stop in and say hi and get a bumper sticker and make a donation if you want to. But it's going to be a whole lot of fun. We're really enjoying being out in the public and letting the public see that this radio station is still alive. It's a vital radio. It's a vital radio station that still has its life to it. And we're going to
I,
bring community radio to the community.
I love that. Man, I want us. We did the politics done right on the road once before. We probably should do it again, but this time kind of really advertise and say, "Hey guys, come on out, drink some coffee," as we talk and as you shout me down.
No, yeah, I think so. We should really look at going back to some of our places where we've been. The Black Hole was one of them, Black Hole Coffee Shop, and also there's other coffee shops around too. And come out and meet Egberto, have coffee with Egberto, and shout him
Yeah,
down.
and shout him down. I love that. I love that. But anyway, Senor Jacques, ¿qué pasó?
Good morning, Egberto.
Good morning, sir.
Well, you've heard the saying, don't crap where you live.
Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that.
Okay,
Evidently,
well,
Neil also, because Neil is shaking his head, so he heard it too.
No, no, yeah.
okay.
So,
We are crapping where we live with industrial processes fouling the water, land, and air. We are sowing the seeds of our own destruction with every gun we sell and every bullet we buy. We are trashing the planet with our own thirst, one plastic bottle at a time. We are destroying human life and hope with war for profit. We have to stop allowing the oligarchs to engage the people in wars that only profit the future of the oligarchs and their power and dominion over us, the people. We have to stop them from their design for us in life. Bigger houses, bigger car notes, all in all, more expenses for the middle class to shore up corporate operating expenses for, yes, more war.
Well, that's the
yeah,
rather insightful, but it is very, very true.
Unfortunately,
Very,
yes.
very, very true. And later on, I want to talk about something else that they do, and it's this Boeing story. That's quite interesting. And Thom Hartmann wrote a hell of an article that he placed all over the place: Daily Coast, Common Dreams, and all the places of real interest that puts out real information. And want to touch on that, and all these things overlap. But before we get started, today is Thursday, and if today is Thursday, it is Neil Aquino's in the house. Buenos
Right.
dias, Senor Neil Aquino.
Good morning, everyone. I shook my head at Jack's comment because I remember an apartment I lived in college, and don't crap where you live. And the guy who lived above me, it was a house, and the guy let his dog go to the bathroom he was on drugs, and he let his dog go to the bathroom in the apartment, and you could smell it. So it's an unpleasant story, but that's what that's what it reminded me of. I've actually unfortunately lived that experience in my 20s, and that's what it made me think of.
But anyway, what's on the dial for today, Senor Neil?
All right, I don't want to think of it either. Today we have more excellent blog posts from the Houston Democracy Project, the Houston Democracy Project blog, and we're going to talk about our Houston City Council, and maybe also we'll get to a gunfight that took place in the county between a sovereign citizen and a Harris County deputy sheriff.
Well, let's talk about that city council thing first. Let's see how that
All right.
goes.
Well, we have our Houston City Council, and they have a series of they have committees. They have basically 8 committees, I believe, 8 or 9. And John Whitmire set up the new committee structure, and he appoints the members. And frequently, my understanding of the process is, he'll ask the members of council. There are 16 members of council. Do you want to serve on this or that committee? And there is a public safety committee which oversees the mission, the stated mission, based on the city council website of the public safety committee, in charge of performance and policies of any city department providing public safety services, purchases related to public safety, and independent police oversight board. And it's interesting. Any city department providing public safety services, the municipal union HOPE, it's called HOPE, the AFSCME union, American Federation of State, County, Municipal Employees, wants their contract is coming up, and they want money just like the firefighters got. And Mayor Whitmire said, I consider you all first responders. This is water, and this is a bit of an aside, but to justify paying them, he has to term them as first responders in his mind, but then also kind of a militarization of everything, because so much of our money goes to police and fire, and he has to term them as first responders too. But I sent a letter to every member of Houston City Council. The chairwoman of the Public Safety Committee is Vice Mayor Amy Peck, who represents Council District A, kind of a mixed demographically area, but the white Republicans are more likely to vote in council elections, and so she's elected. And there are 6 members of the Public Safety Committee, 4 Republicans and 2 Democrats. And
Let me
so,
stop you there. So we have Houston is a very blue Democratic city.
sure,
We purportedly have a Democratic mayor.
right,
Look, the parties have different values. The city
right,
has its values. You're telling me in this democratic city we have a public safety committee comprised of 4 Republicans and
correct,
2 Democrats, continuing the myth. And notice I said the myth that somehow Republicans are better on security and safety than Democrats, which is it's provable lie, but go ahead, please.
The council consists of 10 Democrats and 6 Republicans. And then the mayor is a Democrat, the city controller, who's also elected council at large. Now, I remember is a Democrat. The Houston Chronicle had an article during election season. I think it said that the majority of voters were over 60, right? If you can imagine.
Mm-hmm.
So city turnout was 17%. So you can wager that turnout for people under 30, turnout for people under 25, if probably must have been 5, 6, 7%. Must have been as low as could be to get to a 17% turnout. And that environment of low turnout was fostered by the 2 main candidates for mayor, John Whitmire in Senate District 15 and Sheila Jackson Lee in Congressional District 18 have long been happy with low turnout in their districts, and their districts did not turn out in any meaningful number extra to vote for either of those candidates despite their longtime service. So you have a political class more than happy with cruddy turnout. That cruddy turnout manifests itself in a council that really, even at 10 Democrats and 6 Republicans, probably doesn't represent the city. And we have 5 at-large council members. 3 of them are Republicans, unbelievably, and 2 are Democrats. So Mayor Whitmire picked a public safety committee not representative of council, then also the electorate, not representative of the city, then also regretfully, the electorate is not representative of the city. And even some of the Democrats we have are not particularly progressive. I don't know that there's a genuine actual progressive on the 16-member council. A couple a little more liberal than the others. So I wrote a letter to every, I emailed this out about 36 hours ago to every member of council, the Democrats and the Republicans. And I say, why is Amy Peck, the Republican Amy Peck, who when she first won election in 2019, she posed with MAGA people. She posed with Trump people. Why is she chair of the committee? I say that bipartisanship is essential, just like this program. We want to hear from everyone. There's virtue in keeping divisive state and national politics distance from City Hall. The business of the city must be conducted. At the same time, the vice mayor pro tem, that's her position on council. There's a mayor pro tem, a vice mayor pro tem who are in charge of council when the mayor steps away. Those are appointed by the mayor and ratified by council. Peck represents a political party led by Donald Trump. Where do these and the Republicans on council and in the committee, where do these members stand on election denial and voter suppression? Where do they stand on mass migrant roundups promised by many Republicans? Houston would likely be a center of such roundups. Authoritarianism will require a local infrastructure. That's a very consistent theme I have. These migrants won't round up themselves. The endless lawsuits to challenge elections. Authoritarianism will require a local infrastructure. Our public safety unions are comfortable with supporting election deniers, not just the police, but fire within the AFL-CIO, fire comfortable with supporting election deniers. Harris County Republican leaders work to overturn elections and are silent as Governor Abbott says he would shoot migrants other than that he'd be prosecuted by the Biden Justice Department. Is Vice Mayor Pro Tem Peck the right person to have a critical role in supervising our public safety forces as we face an authoritarian threat? Is the 6-member committee with 4 Republicans, Peck, Huffman, Ramirez, and Carter, the right composition of the committee to ask questions about public safety union support of anti-democratic politicians and discuss the public safety threat to our diverse city represented by the extremism of the Republican Party? And all I ask in this, just to show some of my diminished expectations in this era, all I ask of these folks to renounce Trump. I understand there's 2 parties for 330 million people. But is it too much to ask Amy Peck, and the Republican members of the committee and the Republican members of council to distance themselves from party officials calling for the shooting of migrants and bloodbaths? There's no public safety without democracy. And then I end by saying, history shows that the person next door or the person you work with daily is fully capable of repression and brutality. I urge Democratic Houston City Council members to directly ask their Republican colleagues where they stand on the authoritarian threat and to call out political extremism among elected Republicans. So that's my letter to every member of council. I got about 5 responses saying, hey, we've received your letter, and we will see if I get any substantive response from anyone.
I hope you intend to go in front of City Council and speak to that as well when you get your minute to speak.
I do. And you can, excuse me, you can go, council, but they have a public session every Tuesday at 2 o'clock, and you can sign up. Mayor Whitmire says he wants to make signing up easier and move those public sessions around the city. And in the evening, I'm able to go to the session, and I might well. I do intend actually to go to council.
Yeah, I think you should. And not only that,
Yeah.
I wish we would now that we have we have the technology that we don't have to have the mayor going to different areas. And this is mayors not only for Houston but for any city. You can actually have great online forums, just like and dare I say, just like President Trump did during the crisis for a while. We actually, it wasn't President Trump. I think it was President Biden during the pandemic, that they brought in questions from all over via live via the internet. We need to do that.
Actually, the Houston Planning Commission just got rid of. Whitmire talks about transparency, but the Houston Planning Commission just got rid of its Zoom option to participate in its meetings. So the city of Houston is headed in the opposite direction.
That is terrible. Anyway, I want to welcome Melanie Keelan from Barcelona, Spain. I want to welcome Eric Hayes from Atascocita, Kingwood. I want to welcome Liz Townsend. I think, Liz, are you here in town? Or are you from? Sometimes I get the cities that folks are from mistaken. I think you're from Indiana, maybe not. Anyway, let me know. Anyway, folks. Neil, that's an awesome letter that you sent out. Folks, please remember this is a call-in show as well. 713-526-5738. 713-526-5738. So give us a call if you have anything to talk about. Yesterday on my afternoon show at 3 o'clock, I had Joe Walsh. I don't know if you remember Tea Party days, MAGA days, Joe Walsh, who wholeheartedly supported Trump in 2016 and then ran for president in 2020. Well, he's made a complete U-turn, and I saw him on MSNBC, and he was he was really lamenting, and not only lamenting but wanting to atone on having supported Donald Trump and so forth. So after I saw that thing on MSNBC, I went ahead and booked him for the show. So I did an interview with him yesterday. It's too long for us to play here today, but I'll play it tomorrow. And it turns out that I think he can reach a lot of folks, because if Joe Walsh, former congressman from Illinois, I don't know if you remember it, he was a firebrand in Congress.
Yeah.
If he can make that flip for the sake of the country, I think a lot of people are going to look at that and say, "Oh my God, if Joe flipped, maybe we need to give this stuff a second look." But
Right.
before we go to the next subject, your next subject on sovereign citizens, etc., I want to bring up a subject, and this one was what our brother in crime, Thom Hartmann, wrote. I don't know if you've been following the Boeing story, but the Boeing story affects not only Houstonians, not only Texans, not only Americans, but it affects the world. And not only does it affect the world for that company proper, but it affects all of us and our safety. And there's he wrote an article titled "Boeing's Safety Scandal is an Object Lesson in the Dangers of Stock Buybacks." And it says also Boeing, instead of building new airplanes to expand and upgrade their fleet, spent over $60 billion on stock buybacks in the years leading up to the 2019 grounding of their fleet. Yesterday on the program as well, I got into a discussion with uh, talking about billionaires and talking about how billionaires, there should be no billionaires and no one has earned a billion. And I think most people agreed until I touched a particular billionaire that they liked. I
Okay.
specifically, look, there are a lot of billionaires. I mean, Jay Z is a billionaire.
Right.
What's her name? The singer that
Rihanna?
the No, I'm talking about
She hit it.
that yeah, Rihanna is a billionaire too. Yeah, but there's another singer out there. I mean, I love her. She is God. I forgot her name now. But this my friend is an idol of her. She's my age, but uh, she is the one who the Republicans are scared of. They think that she can switch the
Taylor
election.
Swift?
Taylor Swift, right?
Okay.
Taylor Swift is a billionaire, etc. And
Right.
look, all these people are great musicians, right? And what I try to explain is that, look, I respect what they do. They're great musicians. And I gave an example where I said that, a surgeon that does heart surgery day in and day out, and he saves lives over and over every day. He may have a, I don't know, he may have a net worth of $10 million, $20 million, $30 million. I'm not arguing about that. I think that's fine. I think that's great. He does good work. But to compare what he does with what Taylor Swift or Jay-Z or Oprah Winfrey or any one of our entertaining billionaires, or what Steve Jobs did, or what Elon Musk does, which is simply control other people who make the monies that he profits from, there's no comparison. And when I'm able to abstract myself from the billionaires that I like Warren Buffett, I like Bill Gates, because at least they're giving everything away, realizing who they. I mean,
Sure.
intrinsically they know that they didn't make that. It's all going to be given away. But for those who believe that somehow these people, because our capitalist system allows the accumulation of wealth, whether made or not, that somehow that makes it them intrinsically better or different than you are, is a indoctrination I want to purge out of our mindset, because again, it is what allows the
Sure.
continuation of a failed economic system that hurts most Americans. So unless we are able to change our mindset, we will never change our economic system. And this is just one, the Boeing story from Thom Hartmann is just one example. He says the following: a Boeing whistleblower is testifying before Congress today that the 787 has dangerous flaws in the ways it puts together. Senator Richard Blumenthal, who chairs the Senate Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee's investigations, well, let me read the other one. Profit: the last year that Boeing invested in creating a new airplane from scratch was 2004. And of course, we know that's the 787. And by the way, some of the avionics, the testing equipment for some of the avionics in the 777 and the 787 actually use my product called ComDRV, which was a serial com product. So just thought I might throw that out there so that people don't just say, you're just talking BS you don't know about. But anyhow, so the 787 and the 7 was the last one, and that was 2004. Last innovation of consequence that Boeing had. While it cost about $7 billion to develop a new plane, Boeing chose to save that money by upgrading their 737 line to the infamous 737 MAX, which has now killed hundreds of people.
Right. Sure
Neil,
has.
what I want to show here is this: even in innovation, they want to cut costs to give
Right.
that money to shareholders. In other words, hey, we have the 737. It's making good money. It still flies great. It still does all it needs to do. There are two options, right? You could have said the 737 is good enough, and and since it's good enough, we will sell that plane at a discount so that people who fly can fly at a lower cost, not sell the plane at the same rate so that the shareholders can get more money and we don't have to invest in a lot of R&D. Well, not investing in an R&D made they put a supersized engine in an interesting location that affected airflow. Okay,
Sure.
for those who follow how the Bernoulli equation works on how planes fly, etc., they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. So they had to put in avionics in that thing that helps the pilot fly the plane in a more unstable type plane, which makes it less, what's the word? It makes it harder to fly. It makes it less stable. That's what Boeing did to save money. And in the process, we got two crashes. Okay?
Right.
We got two crashes in order to enrich a few.
Right.
In order to enrich a few. So this is our system. So brother Tom goes ahead and he says, but just between 2014 and last year, Boeing showed a profit of over $95 billion. Remember,
Right.
it takes about $7 billion to develop a new plane. That 95, they could have taken seven or double that, $15 billion out of that profit. I mean, we claim that the reason we want to have these large profits is so that we can innovate, so that we can make the planes better, so that we can make the products better, so that we can make the medicines better. But it's not true. It has always so that we could extract more and enrich more. It's like when I talk about our economic system works best when led by psychopaths, that's
Right.
what I
Right.
mean. They understand that killing 500, well, it was about the combined dead people in those planes, I don't know, let's call it on the order of 300, 400 people. It's easier for those people to sue and get paid than for them to invest in a safer plane, a better plane, because when they do their cost differential, hey, even if we have to pay out $1 billion in claims, we've made $90 billion. No humanity. When I explain that our economic system has no humanity, people, oh, what are you talking about? Well, Tom continues. Just as an example, let's say the idea behind share prices going up is that your company is providing more value. There's nothing wrong with a share staying the same price forever. That's legitimate. That's a steady state company. It's doing well. A good grocery store could have a stock price of, let's say, $15, and that stock price stays at $15 and just rise with inflation, right? As inflation go up by 1 or 2% a year, that stock price rise for 2%. But what's the value of that a grocery store is that it continues to make a steady profit, and out of that steady profit, you can pay a steady dividend, right? That's how an efficient system would actually work. But that's not what we get. We get in our economic system the fact that, or the tenet that we have to grow, 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 and continue growing. And if anybody understands exponentiation, you can't keep doubling your profits and somehow be sustainable. So Tom says, just as an example, let's say you and I owned a publicly traded corporation with 100 shares that sold for $100 each. Yes, it's a very small corporation. You own 10 shares, $1,000 worth of stock. I own 10 shares, Dito, and the general public owns 80 shares. The notional stock value of the company is 100 shares times 100 each. That is $10,000. So how do you and I increase the value of our stock so we can sell to someone again, to sell it to someone or borrow against it? How do we do that, right? You develop more products. You increase your base. You develop more products. That's the only reason for the stock to increase in price, right? But that's not what they do at Boeing. What they did was buy back shares. So instead, 100 shares of our company now only has 80 shares. Why? Because the company buys back 20. So the value of that stock immediately goes up. And there are two magical things to that. And everybody that's listening here, I want you to uh, go ahead and uh, check this out. The theft that we have in the moneyed class is amazing. Your maximum tax rate as a rich person making income would be 39% or so. But if you buy stocks and you convert that into appreciation, meaning stock buybacks into appreciation, you immediately reduce your tax rate when you sell your stocks at that appreciated value purchased with income dollars, because now you're paying for capital gains and not income. So you use your income to buy capital, you sell capital, you pay less taxes. It's the biggest economic fraud in our country, and we tolerate it even though most of us don't make the profits from stock like the average person. But our calls are starting to come in, Neil. But before I go to Donald, your commentary on that, sir.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I think you covered it all, and we celebrate people, and Boeing took a company, and you think of every time you get on a plane, I know I do, no, it's not going to crash. Not, they took an excellent safety record and they trashed it for profit. And just, it just shows you they can do it with anything. They can do it with anything.
And it's not that they can do it with anything, Neil. They are doing it
They
with
are doing everything
everything.
right.
You
Right.
know, I mean, from healthcare, everything is about we are just the cogs in the wheel. It's all about the profit of the few, and everything that they do is cut costs, efficiency, etc. They don't. We need to get people to understand this. Donald, come on in.
Berto, good morning, Neil. How are you guys doing?
Morning.
We're doing fine, my brother. Talk to me.
All right. Why should I listen to you guys? Y'all can only get 17 out of 100 people to vote. What are y'all doing wrong?
I agree. Boy, you nailed it.
What are you doing wrong? I'm telling you this. You are a humanist, right? What does that mean? Human. How do you present
Yes.
anything to a human? You need to not do politics and not do party lines and just go to people and go, did you vote? Now, if 100% of the people are bitching or complaining and only 17% are controlling, you need to figure out how to get to the 100% mark and say, did you vote? You need to vote. This is why you vote. Not show your politics, not show your party lines. Just tell them you need to vote. Make up your own mind. You can get information from here and you get information from there. And that's the way you get people to vote. Because if you don't vote, then you have no right to complain.
Donald, I'm going to take a first crack and then throw it to Neil. But here's my thing, right? I talk to a lot of people, and what we've done to a lot of people is to let them believe that their vote doesn't matter, and therefore somehow instead of finding a babysitter to go vote, instead of not taking the few minutes that they have free to go vote as opposed to doing something else, that's why they don't vote. But first of all, let me tell you, I am 100% in agreement with you. And the thing that activists like Lee and myself have to do is figure out exactly how to say exactly what you said in such a manner to let people know that their vote really matters. Let me let uh, Neil take a crack at this, and then I'll come back. Come on, Neil.
Well, let me, the 17%. I want to address directly the 17%. That's municipal turnout, and and as we talked about during the municipal campaign on this show last year, the candidates were given on municipal elections represent a very narrow range of ideologies, and they don't talk about poverty. They don't talk about really meaningful differences in practices. They target themselves to very specific racial or demographic or ideological groups. And I think one of the most difficult things for people who are active in politics or who volunteer or talk about it is that our elected officials actually don't care about turnout. They just care about winning, and they don't care about a healthy politics. And the systems that sustain our elected officials at the city level and above are low turnout, special interest donors, appeals to just certain segments of voters, and that's not the system that sustains a healthy democracy. And I think that's one thing I'm trying to draw out with the Democracy Project, is that the systems that sustain our elected officials do not sustain us.
That is, you're right, and we have to find a way to do that. We need to find a way to let people know that they are already empowered if they just exercise said power. So Donald, come on in before I jump to Joni.
You've got to okay. You've got to go in and ask them. Do you care about your kids? You got to ask them. Do you care about this? Do you care about that? And then you give them a sign that says "I will vote." Because when you go to the voting registry right now and you vote, you get a sticker that says "I voted."
Yeah,
Okay,
Right.
yeah.
you need to put the signs out in their yard that says "I will vote." My
Hey
voice
Neil,
does count. It doesn't
Neil,
matter
we're
which
going to be
party. That's what you need to
uh,
do.
Donald, I'm with you, and we need to enlist you to help us get a particular segment out because I know you'll be right there, helping us out. So you may get a direct contact from us to say, hey, we need you in Get Out the Vote as a member of the Get Out the Vote team. All right, Neil? I mean, all right, Donald?
That's it. That's all you got to do. You got to
All
empower
right.
the people by education.
I'm
All
going to
right,
enlist you,
later.
Donald. We got to go to Joni. Thank you, brother. Let's go to Joni. Good morning, Joni. How are you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm doing all right. There was I got in about a little after 6, and not sure if this got mentioned about the Boeing story. And I think I heard it on Democracy Now, but I can't remember. But I thought that Boeing was trying to compete with Airbus from France, who had created a plane that was extremely fuel efficient. And I think there were even lawsuits or something that happened, and because the technology for Airbus was such that it was going to use a whole lot less, significantly less fossil fuel. And Boeing was trying to compete with that because, more people wanted that plane, the Airbus plane. And so they retrofitted this technology onto the plane, didn't tell people it was AI. And so when the pilots tried to fly it, because it was kind of a Frankenstein thing, it wasn't, it didn't work correctly, obviously. So the whole point being that it was originally trying to compete with something that was trying to be a little bit more green, or a lot more green, as I understand it. So do you have any knowledge, or have you heard anything about
I
that?
Yes, years ago. In fact, I remember years ago. I don't have it. It's fuzzy in my mind, but I remember when the Airbus Boeing thing came, and actually Boeing went into a panic. But that they went into a panic and did the wrong thing as opposed to going into the panic and doing the right thing. But yeah, I do remember it. I couldn't tell you line for line what the story is, but you are actually on the right track. You see, Airbus, they came up with the first, if I recall, fly-by-wire plane, which is it doesn't, it doesn't, it's not what it means. It really means that when you move your control surfaces, you're not pulling a cable, you're actually doing signals. But so all of that is true. But again, the bottom line is all the exceptions that they made, all the compromises that they made was in order to get that stock price up so that the few could make a
Right.
profit. And that is what we have to they
Yes.
put our safety at risk. And the same thing happens in uh in the manufacture of drugs, right? I mean, I don't know if you remember Claritin
Right.
versus Clarinex. When Claritin lost its patent, a new product that was new, Clarinex came out. It's not so new. It was just Claritin with an added ingredient so that it could be patented. So I mean, I wrote about
Yes.
this in my
Newer is
book
not
called
always better.
"It's Worth." Yeah, no, I mean it's funny. This stuff has look. My book's been written for some time. This one called "As I See It: Class Warfare: The Only Resort to Right Wing Doom." I went back because of something that happened on the 3 o'clock show. And went back and read a chapter in the book and like, oh my God, this stuff with Monsanto hasn't changed with the seed, with seed, with controlling seed. Oh my God, this stuff about the patent system is all the same. But anyway, Joni, anything else you want to add before we
Yeah.
jump to
Anyway,
Johnny?
thank you. Nope. That's
Thank you,
it. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
thank you, Joni. You have a great one. Let's go to brother Johnny, the mayor of Politics Done Right, and he will be coming in shortly.
And he
So just
will. You know,
and
I just wanted to no, don't, yeah, drop Joni. I was trying so hard not to bring out my soapbox, but Donald, you did it, so I'm going to bring out my soapbox.
so bring your
Vote,
soapbox.
just vote, just vote them out, vote for them, vote against them, just vote. Not only does it make a difference, because it does make a difference, it honors the people who died for your right to vote. If you vote for
Yes,
no
it
other
does.
reason, honor those people who stood in line, who did the League of Women Voters. I mean, for heaven's sakes, people, voting may turn out to be the last right you have. Exercise it. And that's all I got to
And you
say.
know, it's the most democratic thing, right? Because it doesn't matter if you're poor, rich, or whatever. When you vote, you are exercising that yes, this country belongs to all of us, not some of us, all of us. Johnny, come on in.
Okay. I trust you guys can hear me okay.
Yes, we can.
So in regard to what Captain Reynolds Rap just said, you lose what you don't use. That applies not only to heart health, but to political awareness and empowerment. But with all due respect to Ronald McDonald, I would say that if we want to encourage people to participate in the democracy, their experience at the voting booth is wanting. You and I went over this once before, at least I think, when I suggested that when people show up at the voting booth, they get to have choices. They should be able to rank their choices. They should be able to type in a short number of sentences as to why they're voting this way or that way. There's all kinds of things that we could do to light a fire in people's belly to inspire people to want to participate in the voting process and democracy. But we don't do it. Our society, controlled by the oligarchs, don't do it on purpose. Let me ask you something. You mentioned the Boeing aircraft. I think I've asked you this once before, and I apologize if I'm asking you the same question again, but are you aware of this documentary, scientific, technical series on TV, maybe Hulu, or is it Netflix? I forget where it's at. It's called Airline Disasters.
Yes, I watch it every day. I listen, I
Yeah.
have 3 TVs going at the same time, and I watch how they decompose all these disasters. Yes.
Oh my God. You're going to wind up with a heart attack soon if you keep overloading yourself, my friends. Cut back your workload a little bit. Anyway,
I have to
the
be
airline
stimulated. You know what?
disaster.
I need to be overstimulated, man. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Airline disasters, they not too long ago, they addressed specifically what you're talking about with engine placement and all when they were looking to save money.
Hmm.
What I love about that series is they take you behind the scenes after the fact, after a crash. They take you alongside with the National Transportation Safety Board people, whether it's in this country or the equivalent in other countries. They take you into the cockpit with the pilots on the tarmac getting ready to take off. They actually play the voice recordings of these people, or they have actors saying the words of these pilots the last half hour of the flight. So you get an idea of all the jargon of pilots, and it's fascinating stuff, but I don't recommend it to people who are frequent flyers because you guys may not want to fly. You may not want to fly anymore. Oh no, maybe Amtrak is the way to go, or the bus, because everybody knows how to drive a bus if you have to. Just say.
It looked like Neil is trying. Neil wants to say something. Come on in, Neil.
No, well, I there's one point directed to what the mayor says, and then there's another thing I'd like to address before we go to the next caller. Just with ranked choice voting, the legislature, I think, is set to ban it. I've seen repeatedly tweets wanting to ban the prospect of ranked choice voting in Texas. So they are very committed. And but I don't want to interrupt the flow of the caller. But before we go to the next call, I just want to make a brief comment about our appraisal district elections.
Okay, no problem at all. Anything else, John, before we get the appraisal district comments from Neil?
Yes, sir. One quick item. You know, another thing we could do when you talk about the corporate industrial oligarchs and these CEOs, the way they like to move people around and manipulate people, the way we start countering that is we teach our kids by the time they're 11 years old, start them getting an idea of how we manage the family budget. Start them at that age, and then by the time they get into high school, they can start taking courses in finance and how credit cards work and how businesses work, profit and loss statements. Because when we start empowering young people that way, guess what? Those guys who are manipulating people right now, sitting on their ass.
Johnny, let me just say you nailed it. You nailed it. I just interrupted you to tell you that you nailed it. And let me tell you better. That is something we try to preach. And Liz Townsend said it best. Teach them about civics and politics early. And if they learn about that, they will understand that they're already empowered. If they learn about that, they understand that they can make a difference. And not only that, they'll learn enough economics that the crap that we support in our current economic system, we wouldn't. Like I talk when I talk about there is nobody is a billionaire by worth or by work. I repeat, there's no one that is a billionaire by work or worth. Thank you, Johnny. I got to get back to brother Neil here, who has a mention about the ACAD. Have a wonderful day. Let's go. Go ahead, Neil.
So I want to talk briefly. I want to talk briefly about the Harris County Appraisal District elections. We talked about them last week more extensively. Counties over 75,000 people have appraisal district elections. The election day is May 4th. It was intentionally consistent with what we were just hearing. It was intentionally set that way so no one votes. And then there would be a runoff in early June. There are 3 appraisal district county-wide races, 1, 2, 3. All the county votes for each of them, 1, 2, 3. The candidates that I'm supporting are Kathy Bluford Daniels, Melissa Noriega, and Palumi Adelke for 1, 2, 3. And they will. This is a newly elected position, and they want to put people on the right in there to strangle property taxes, strangle public schools. And Dan Patrick's stated goal is to get rid of property taxes so you can pay a zillion% sales tax, and then all the taxes be as regressive as possible, vouchers for your schools, and strangled government services. So this is a really important election. And I want to address Harry called last week. Harry asked, who should I vote for in the Galveston appraisal district election? I have gone into that subject 3 times. I found names. I've yet to find who one should vote for. So, Harry, if you're listening, early voting is the 22nd to the 30th. Election day is the 4th. I will do a deeper dive into it, although I gave it a decent shot already. But I will find that answer and give it to Egberto or give it to you next week on the air. But this just shows you Galveston has 330,000 people. It has giant properties of hotels and chemical in Galveston County facilities. And you have to actually super go out of your way to figure out who you want to vote for. But you can bet there's somebody out there who knows and who's pushing these candidates to win in low turnout.
Neil, please, as you find this stuff, put it in a blog post that I can reblog, repost, and also send in our newsletter. Please do that,
Yeah.
and I'll definitely get that done to your. And by the way, Neil's website, HoustonDemocracyProject.com, HoustonDemocracyProject.com. Yes, we stand for democracy. Let's go to Richard. Come on in, Richard.
Hello. Hello.
Go ahead, Richard.
Yeah, I don't know.
Go ahead, Richard.
About
I don't know if you guys know anything about airplanes or how that situation happened, but you have millions of people that fly on those planes, the Dreamliner and the Supermax every day, and they don't just put out planes just like that. I mean, like you guys are saying, I think the competition wise, it was a competition between Boeing and McDonnell Douglas, and that was their major competition going into the 80s. And that's when they kind of start working on the 7.3 and working on the Supermax. Problems with Supermax primarily was upper management wasn't listening to complaints from the unions and people and the pilot, especially the pilots union, that were complaining about the certain twerks with the plane. And that's the reason. That's one of the reasons why you had the two crashes that you were talking about.
Okay, what did you think that? What is it, Richard? What is it that you think? What is it that you think we didn't know that somehow doesn't purport with what you're saying?
Well, what you're talking about is a corporate. You talked about being a business decision, and it was. And
actually, that was a state, my brother. That was a statement. That wasn't a question that I mentioned there. That was a verifiable statement of fact that's documented. So I'm trying to, like I said on here, what we try to do is make sure documented in their own documents. I mean, actually, if you take a look at the stock buybacks, it's $95 billion. It cost $7 billion to develop a plane. If what you did was modify a plane when competition came about and you made it unstable, and my dear brother, let me just tell you categorically, one at a time. Wait, Richard, one at a time. I am an engineer, sir. My dear friend, I know Bernoulli's equations, and I understood what happened with the placement of the engine of the 737. I understood that the avionics is what had to help in the control of the planes, etc. So, my brother, whenever you're talking about these things, let's just stick, and I let everybody speak and say their piece, but be careful.
I worked on both of those planes. I know you know that. Go ahead.
But what I'm saying is that I know the engineering of the plane, my friend. And in knowing the engineering, I made sure to tell our audience the fact that our economic system is a basal cause of many of our issues with safety and crashes. That wasn't a statement other than a statement of fact. Okay, and what I'm saying is, if we are here to make sure people make the changes necessary that we don't have these things happen, we cannot take a corporate stance in our commentary. That's all. Go ahead, my friend.
It wasn't a corporate anything. It was the corporation Boeing. I'm not taking Boeing side because they've sided with upper management, not just with the Supermax, but with a number of aircrafts they built over the years. And
okay, Richard, I tell you what, Richard, you call late. Let's talk tomorrow. We got to talk tomorrow because I got 3 more calls and everybody gets a chance. Harry's been waiting a long time. Harry, come on in. Come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Jack, and good morning.
I'm sorry, Harry. I left you on hold. Harry, I left you on hold for too long, and I only can give you 45 seconds. And my bad. I just look at the time. I'm sorry.
Right. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay, Berto. I was just thinking when I like what you were talking about with Richard there, but I was also thinking those 737s. I think one of them was Ethiopians that flew out of Ethiopia.
One was Ethiopian and one was Malaysian. Yeah.
That's right. And I think recently here they had to have an emergency landing because they had a problem with the fuselage, and Joni's right about that with the Airbus and the AI intelligence. She's absolutely right about that. And Donald, you nailed it as usual. Get out there and vote. And Howard, same thing. Like you said, get out there.
Harry,
and vote.
Got to cut you, brother. Thank you, Harry. Got to go to Derek. Come on in, Derek. Real quick, Derek. 30 seconds.
Quickly, young people in voting. The young voters that came with President Obama, you all can see it, man. They do not know how to handle disappointment, and that's the reason why you having the type of problems that you are. Just remember these words: politics without economics is a symbol without substance. That came from Minister Louis Farrakhan. Thank you.
You nailed. Thank you, brother. Let's go to Brian. Come on in, Brian. You got 30 seconds.
Yeah, did you see Trump at the bodega yesterday in New York City?
Yes, I did.
Or where the man? Yeah. Did you see any complaints, any harassment, any boos? No, you didn't see
No,
that, did you?
actually, let me just say, actually, I'm waiting for the reports to come out that he paid them just like he paid them when he came down the escalator. But I don't have any evidence to that. But I can almost, I will
Yeah, you
wager
don't
at
have any.
fingernail
Yeah.
that happened. Go ahead, Neil. Neil wants to
No,
say
no.
something real quick. Neil.
No, that was my thought.
All right. Anyway, Brian, I got to go. Thank you very much, Brian. Let's go ahead and Neil, give me a closer.
Very good. HoustonDemocracyProject.com, Houston Democracy Project blog, the HCAT elections. Look them up. Your Harris County Appraisal Director. It's low turnout. Your vote will make a difference.
Let's go back to the studio.
Nothing for me. What you got, Jack?
Well, let's watch what we're doing out there in the world and don't crap on ourselves.
Okay. Good deal.
I love that. Anyway, folks, I want to thank everybody. Hey, Richard, call in tomorrow earlier than at the end of the show. I'll give you the time to go ahead and make your point. Come with the facts, my brother, okay? Because when we talk these issues, we're not just throwing them out there. That's the difference between what we do and what many in the other media does. Anyway, I want to thank everybody out there for the listeners. I want to thank every caller. I want to thank the studio, Howard and Jack couldn't do it. We couldn't do this without you. I want to thank Neil. Thank you for being here and everybody else. My name is, don't forget to go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. Everything that we didn't cover here in the program, you'll find it there. Don't forget to go to HoustonDemocracyProject.com to keep informed on keeping our democracy straight. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics Done Right. And you know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the